That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Do not blink. Do not adjust your TV, your phone, your smart TV, your laptop, or however it is that you are tuning into this broadcast. It is the McKinney Podcast, where we do celebrate everything that makes us unique by nature. And this is a special episode. No, James is not out of the picture. No, there hasn't been no falling out between he and I. It just so happens that today's guests, there are 3 of them, and we only have 4 stations here in the McKinney Podcast studio. So we drew straws, we did rock, paper, scissors, and I was heavily influenced by one of our guests.
His wife.
That I should be there. So you have tuned in today, and I'm going to skip over all the bios because the list of accomplishments of who we have in here today is just so great that I would use up all of our time introducing the powerhouse trio that we have here. So with that, let's get into it. In this episode of the McKinney Podcast, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 leading ladies of our community here in McKinney. And we've got Sheila Williamson, Lisa Hammett, and Elizabeth. How do you pronounce your last name?
I don't know. I married this Filipino guy. He told me to pronounce it Mahusay.
Mahusay. And Elizabeth Mahusay. And these ladies have a special event coming up that you definitely want to be a part of. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to our ladies. And did you draw straws as to who's going to
Actually, what I would suggest is let's do a quick round robin of who we are, what we do, so that people have that foundation, and then we can launch into the event. You want to kick us off, Sheila?
Sure. I am Sheila Williamson, and the reason I'm involved in this particular event that you'll find out about is because I am a local author. I have a published book about our family story, which took place about my son and our family's healing and everything that we went through. Now, I am a McKinney resident, long time, and I currently am the Director of Community Services for Hammett Hogue, which is a faith-based estate planning firm. Proud member of Links, of the McKinney Chamber, and lovely to be friends with these beautiful powerhouse women.
I love it. Lisa?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Hammett. I'm a certified positive intelligence PQ coach. Call me a mental fitness expert. I'm also a transformational keynote speaker and the best-selling author of From Burnout to Best Life, How to Take Charge of Your Health and Happiness.
I love it. And Lisa, you're also a member of Links. Tell them what Links is,
Yes.
because there are going to be some people who, they know the McKinney Chamber, but they don't know what Links is.
So Links is the Wednesday morning networking meeting that we have, and we've been running about 85 to 90 people since the new year started, and it's a fun, energetic way to get to know local business owners in the community. We always have a breakfast sponsor who has a 10-minute spotlight, so they're able to, share about their business, and it's just really fun. I mean, people rap. Hello, Fred. There are others who sing.
So
there are people who do limericks and just all kinds of really interesting
It's so fun.
commercials. And it's really fun and energizing, and it's a gather. I say get there at 7:15. It goes till 9 a.m. every Wednesday morning, and you will love it.
It's the place to be on Wednesday morning.
It is.
There were 90 plus yesterday.
Oh, I love
Yes,
it.
It was crazy.
Well, I'm Elizabeth Mahusay, and I am married to this guy, so that's fun.
Maybe.
I'm an executive business coach, a corporate trainer, a keynote speaker, and international best-selling author of Pick Your Path. And I get the privilege to hang out with these ladies every Wednesday morning, for the most part, at Links. And we are, what I can say is that all 3 of us are very passionate about, one, that we are authors, but also to promoting others in the local community that are also authors.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to do just a couple quick round robins, things that we always do in the McKinney Podcast. So first off, Sheila, when your feet first touched the earth, was that in Texas or where was it?
Texas.
It was Texas. Where
I'm
in
a
Texas?
Texas native. From Greenville, Texas.
Greenville, also just over there.
Yes.
Really, just
I have
up the
never
road.
lived more than 40 miles away from my home.
How about
Wow.
that? That
I
is
didn't know
amazing.
that.
I know. It's crazy. I know.
That's right. All right. And so, Lisa, for you, where did your feet first touch the earth?
It was, I was born in Palm Springs, California. And then when I was several days old, I'm adopted. I moved with my parents to Northern California, outside Sacramento area, and lived there until after college. And then we moved to Texas in 2002.
How about that? And Elizabeth?
So technically, my feet touched the earth first in Florida, but I was born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
So you're saying that your parents never did the little.
Well, I was 9 months old when we moved to Florida, so I wasn't even walking at the time.
So maybe it was your butt first touched the earth in Pennsylvania.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
That is too funny. Okay, and so let's get this out of the way ahead of time, because in the last 2 or 3 episodes, we've had so much conversation that we never got to it. Why McKinney? Why did you choose McKinney?
That's good, Fred. Okay, so I'm married to Jeff for 40 years, and we have one child, Chad, who's 35. When Chad was born, we lived in Richardson. Then we decided to move to Plano because Plano was the place to be. We moved to Plano when Chad was 2. Well, that house, we kind of outgrew that house, even though there's just 3 of us. We really kind of outgrew that house. And Jeff was playing tennis all the time at El Dorado Country Club. He's a big tennis player. So, I don't know. We liked McKinney. We liked the way it looked. We just liked everything about it. And it was so family-oriented. And it was smaller than Plano at the time. Now, it's much larger now, but it was smaller than Plano at the time. And we just decided, we started looking at houses and found neighborhoods that we just loved, and we moved to McKinney. Now, McKinney, total different vibe than Plano back then. Mm-hmm. Total different vibe, and have never been sorry. I'll be honest with you. I can't see myself ever living anywhere else.
There you go. Love it. All right, Lisa, how about you, Miss California girl?
When we moved here, we lived in Plano for a short period of time. I had signed a 2-year contract. I was in corporate at the time, and we weren't sure how long we were going to be here. And we were driving one weekend. We had no family here at all. And we ended up out kind of by Stonebridge Ranch, which was not very well developed at the time. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, this is kind of a cool area. Well, we stumbled upon a home development, which actually was down the road a little bit. And we ended up building a house in McKinney. Well, it was actually Frisco, technically. But when we lived there, we found that we were always in McKinney, especially downtown McKinney. Mm-hmm. And at the first chance that we could get, we moved to the historic district. We've lived there since then. And like Sheila, I can't imagine living anywhere else. Mm-hmm. I love the community. I love knowing most of the downtown merchants. And it's just a really unique, family-friendly, artistic community.
That's right.
I love it. Right. You could keep going.
I could. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stop.
Just add another adjective on there, because it's true.
It's true. It's true. It is so true.
That's right. All right. And Elizabeth, so tell me, why McKinney?
He knows the answer to this. But so we were living in Tampa, Florida, and when we knew we were going to move into the area, we contacted some folks that lived more south, and we were asking, there were some key things. We were asking about schools. And so they gave us Plano, McKinney, Frisco from a school standpoint. And so we visited each of those communities. Ultimately, though, we just loved the location where we are in McKinney, because we literally can get to any other of the close cities, towns within 10 minutes, which is so awesome. And now we're same thing. We just can't imagine living someplace else, because we love all the aspects of whether it's the arts or the business development. There's so much opportunity here for entrepreneurs and business owners, and you're just not that far from pretty much anything you'd want to do. So we love it.
Yes.
Don't we, Fred?
Yes, we do. Was that what I was supposed to? Yeah. Yes. Check my notes
dear,
here.
I love it here. I will never move.
And I think that you are the most amazing woman in the whole wide world. Too funny. All right, so now the three of you, obviously diverse and different backgrounds, but each of you have written books, and there had to be some inspiration for it. So for you, Sheila, you kind of alluded to it. Can you just peel back the curtain just a little bit more? Give us the title of your book.
My book is called Two Calls, and it's Two Calls: Blossoming Faith, Keeping Hope Alive. And it was written through a struggle that our family went through, starting with a near-fatal accident for our only child, and going through subsequent, amputation, drug addiction, subsequent drug addiction, homelessness, despair, many, many more surgeries. He's had, Chad is 35, he's had 21 surgeries. Wow. But then despair was part of it too. And then incarceration, homelessness eventually, and then incarceration in Dallas County Jail. Then came rehabilitation and redemption. And I wrote the book because so many families are experiencing this. It's still not a subject that people want to talk about, and I understand this because you, as a family member, you're ashamed because you automatically think that you did something wrong. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how it started. Ours started with an accident, but it really is immaterial how it started. But you feel like you've done something wrong. And then secondly, you don't know if you'll come out on the other side. Now, by the grace of God, we were able to come out on the other side. And our son now works in the recovery field and is sponsoring so many other people. He is he's a speaker so many places. And it is just amazing to see this transformation. So, but I wanted people to know that there is hope out there. And there's help for the family, not just for the addict. Because none was offered to us. And we had to find this out on our own. And I just wanted people to have those resources.
I love it. And so give us like the condensed timeline. When did it start? And, when did the redemption, the restoration, and the reinvesting, because he's reinvesting in the community. What, how many years are we talking here?
The accident was September 8th, 2008.
Wow.
Okay. Then he was incarcerated December 1st, 2020, after he almost died. And he was, it's almost a funny story, and I'm not going to tell it now, but it's in the book, but he was arrested at the hospital where he almost died, or after a surgery, a life-saving surgery, and he almost died. It's a long story, but the point is, then he was incarcerated, and the charges were felony because he had an empty vial that had heroin brought up to him at the hospital. So he was the first drug charge he'd ever had. And so this was 12 years later, see. And he was arrested for a bad check. There was a bad check. So you think to yourself, well, this is just okay. Yes, but those are both felonies. And he was arrested. Well, God knew better than this. So Chad was in that Dallas County Jail almost 2 years.
Wow. In
that time, he was clean the whole time because in his case, you'd say, well, they get drugs in the jail. Yes, they do, but not in Chad's case because Chad was he was close to death. So Parkland was watching him like a hawk. They were over at the jail with him a lot, and he was being monitored very carefully so he couldn't have anything, which is a good thing. Then one day, because he wanted to get out of his, what we would call a cell block, and they call them pods there, whatever, he found an AA group in there, which, of course, we had taken him to before, tried 5 rehabs, tried all these things. But if they're not ready, it doesn't matter what you do. He found this on his own, went 2 or 3 days just to escape being in there, and started realizing those stories sounded like his. Asked for what they call a big book in AA, the book, and started reading it, and it totally changed him. And God reached him there so that when he did get out, which is a whole nother long story, he went to rehab, and there was never an issue. However, The problem with addiction that people don't know is that addiction is not really the problem. The problem is what leads them to the addiction. In his case, it was a huge trauma. I mean, he had this accident when he was 19. He's losing a leg, and he's never going to be the same. The other leg was rebuilt, yes, but it was never going to be the same. And he felt like his life was over. So the trauma had been hidden all that time, and he never would talk about it. In that rehab, court ordered, the counselor introduced himself to me and told me he'd have no choice. And I said, well, good luck with this, because we've tried for years. After about 2 weeks, they both called me crying, and they'd had a breakthrough where and now he remembers everything about the accident. He remembers stuff that he didn't remember. It is amazing. So this is the point of the book, is that you do not give up hope. Am I telling you that your loved one will survive this and come out on the other side? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because quite frankly, the odds are stacked against that. But I'm saying that you don't have to lose your marriage or your sanity in the process.
Yeah,
so
true.
That's so good. So we'll come back. All right, so Lisa, like I'm looking at the timer going,
I know, sorry.
Okay, no, that's good. No, that's good, and so, but, it'll lead naturally into what the main focus is here. So Lisa, I've known you now, actually we've known you now since the olden days.
Oh, geez.
That's right.
2011.
I love that last time that I asked the question at Links. I was like, stand up if you've been here, 5 years or more, and there was a handful of us. And then when I went to like 7, the rest of the room sat down, and there was only, just
15?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
That. Yeah, and then we hit the 10 mark, then it was, we could clearly see who was there.
That's
but
right.
So we've known each other a long time. So I'm not going to, pre-lead everything in here, but tell us about your book.
So my book, From Burnout to Best Life, actually tells the story of how I went through burnout after a 26-year career in the corporate retail sector. And, my journey and coming through it. But it also provides a lot of practical tips for managing stress and just improving health and well-being. I spent 11 years as a wellness coach, so a lot of the practicums, I guess, in the book are behavioral science based. But it's really a book to help people identify pain points in their life that might need addressing. At the end of every chapter, there are reflection questions that can help you identify those areas that might need some improvement. And I'm actually working on my second book, which will be a sequel to this, which will be more in-depth and will incorporate mental fitness and some of the other modalities that I've since been working on.
Yeah, there we go. All right, there. So, just a little bit about, Lisa here, she is married to Tyler, who, at some point, I'm wondering when he's going to open his own little restaurant, or you're just going to host, 4 pay dinners at your amazing historical home. I mean, it could be a whole experience. But Lisa and Tyler, they're like the Dr. Doolittle of McKinney. How many pets do you have now?
Well, we just have 2 right now.
Just 2 right now, yes. But, and her dogs, cat, whichever they have at the time, love people. Absolutely love people. And so, every time there's something that's going on, even beyond that, if you're not following Lisa on socials, we're up to day 11 jillion of
I actually kind of stopped that because I lost track and I just got so busy, and I'm like, I think I'm repeating the same day over and over and over again.
But it's morphed though, because you don't necessarily tag it as days, but you put up things there that are just so encouraging.
They're encouraging.
Yes.
Super helpful.
Or even thought provoking, because that is part of your thing, and how does that make you feel, and like. Any day, whether if it's sunny outside and I love it, or if it's gloomy outside, I know I just need to go onto Facebook and just scroll a little bit, and eventually I'll find, your post, and I'm like, oh, that is so good, and I'm like hitting that love, I don't hit the like, I hold on to that thing until the heart pops up, and I'm like, I love that,
So good.
And that's right.
So true.
Okay, and so Elizabeth, tell us about peel the cover back a little bit on your books.
So I do have 4 books, though. The one that I'll focus on the event that we're going to talk about is Pick Your Path, 21 Days to Set Your Mental Autopilot on the Right Course. And because Lisa and I have some things in common, that we love the brain aspect and how you can have transformation in your thinking. So I approach it with 21 individual lessons that you can work through to pick a better path of thinking. And I have reflection questions at the end of each of my days as well, to help people to really know how to personalize that thought process to their lives and what's happening. Now, it can be both a personal and a professional development book, so that you're going to see things in there that are very business specific. And then there are applications, obviously, outside of the business space as well. My other 3 books are all centered around Bible studies, and because I have a love of God's word. And so that's what the focus of the other 3 books are.
I love that. And so, what you'll see here amongst these authors are that they have lived these experiences. And, whether it's, we're now on what years, I did the math, 17 or 18 of, this journey that you've been on, or the path of, because, I have, hang on a second. I don't know which is, that's not it. That's not it. This is confession segment. I have your book, and I started it.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it, and I do love the reflective questions at the very end. But it is one of the many books that I started last year that I have not finished.
Okay.
And so I just want to confess that openly. And, I know Elizabeth has a copy of your book, and I'm like, do I want to, bend and crease a book that was not signed for me? So,
please.
I just want to put that out there in the confessional.
Please.
Oh, wait,
there's
there
a high percentage. I'm trying to remember what it was, but there is a really high percentage of individuals who don't finish books.
Yep.
It's very common.
It actually is very common. And it's one of the reasons why I made Pick Your Path very short, because I wanted to up the likelihood of people actually finishing it. Because, and I know your book is shorter as well, but I mean, I know for us being authors, and we are also avid readers as well, we're having conversations like, have you read such and such? Have you read such and such? I'm like, it's on my list. It's on my list. And so, I've got like this super lengthy list of books that I want to work my way through. Oh my goodness.
So you have a compelling why for why you wrote that book, because that there's someone else out there that is going through this. And for you, sharing all the things, the corporate burnout and all of that, there are people, and we all know them, who are, they might be superior at their jobs, but they are leading an unfulfilled life.
Absolutely.
And they are on that hamster wheel, and they're just getting after it, and probably looking around and going, why on earth am I even here? Yeah. Right. And of course for Elizabeth,
I didn't really talk about why I wrote the book,
right.
But I just dealt with a lot of poor thinking coming into adulthood, that I had to have it all together, that people wouldn't follow my lead or respect me, or
that you're intimidating. Oh wait, though it says do not talk about intimidating.
Yeah, that's because he's talking about how I was told all the time that you're so intimidating, you're so intimidating, you're so intimidating, because I believed that I had to have a certain facade for people to like me, follow me, respect me, which meant I was not vulnerable, I was not transparent, which people, so I would project that I had it all together when I really didn't have it all together, let's be honest. But it is how I came into my adulthood. That's the thinking that I carried. And so I had to really dismantle the way that I thought so that I could pick a better path of thinking. And so Pick Your Path was really came out of a love that I have for the fact that the brain can be transformed, and we can rewire it to think more productively, more healthy. And that through mental fitness. And so each of those lessons are lessons I've had to live, learn, and I coach other people to live them as well. So I am super passionate about it.
I love that. And it even ties in with Sheila because, there are things, there are thoughts that are formed early on in our life that for some odd reason just have such a superior anchor hold.
That's so true.
Or, death grip on what we think and how we think. And, Elizabeth and Lisa, you both talk about that, you need to understand, you need to identify, and then you need to approach that with the truth of, what's really going on here. And that the reason why it's called the past, because it's the past, right? Yeah. And, we can't change, what happened there to us or the decisions we made, good or bad back then, but we need to move forward, which brings us to why we're here today. Because you have a story, you have a story, you have a story. And it's not the kind of like, don't you tell me a story, right? We all know about that.
Yes.
It's not that,
Yes.
You have a story that needs to be told. And, all of you are on the informational, inspirational, instructional side. And we want to share with the audience that this upcoming workshop isn't just for that.
No.
So tell us about, well, first off, what is the official event?
Lisa, go ahead.
So the event, it's called the Local Authors Showcase. And it's on April 5th from 12:30 to 4:30 at Gather in downtown McKinney. And it's a family-friendly event. We have 15 different authors from all different genres, 2 children's authors, as well as pretty much every genre you can think of. And it's really designed to inspire people who, appreciate knowledge and who might be interested in writing their own book, publishing their own book. And just also to see the wonderful resources and community that we have here in McKinney. So we do have some authors that are from Allen, which is fine. It's really, and one I think from Prosper.
Yeah.
And that's great. So say Collin County.
Yes.
But we're thrilled, and they all have such a great footprint in their sphere of influence.
So true. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Lisa. Or I said Lisa. Sheila.
That's okay. I take that as a compliment. Well, I was just going to say, this is going to be fun. Of course, I love to read, and I have ever since I was a young child. As a matter of fact, one of the funniest stories I ever had, the librarian in Greenville at one point called my mother to tell her that I was trying to check out books that were too old for me. Mm-hmm. And my mother said, is there anything wrong? Are these bad? Well, no, but she's too young to read these. And they were mysteries. And they were clean. There wasn't anything. But my mother goes up there and she said, let me just explain something here. My daughter, if she wants to read these books, and there's nothing wrong with them, no, but they're not meant for children. She said she can get any of these books if she wants to. And that's what I think we shouldn't limit. I like to read all kinds of things, whether it's self-help books, inspirational books, mystery. Yes, mysteries are my jam, but it can be anything like that. And you learn from every book that you read. And in this case, you're going to learn the whys, and from all of these authors. There are different stories, and I think it's going to be a fascinating event. And I'm so excited about this and so excited that Daryl wanted to host this. I just think this is just another example of the best of McKinney coming out.
Yeah, I think. So thinking about what McKinney Podcast is, celebrates what makes McKinney unique is that, we have different groups of people that want to gather together. Mm-hmm. And in this case, we're going to celebrate authors that are local to the area and what they've accomplished, because all 3 of us would tell you that writing a book is not an easy task. Getting it published is even a harder task. Marketing it is an even harder task. Mm-hmm. So there's so much about the book process that really is overwhelming to maybe even you, the viewer or the listener. And so the idea here is not only will you get to hear each author read a portion of their book, you'll get to learn about the authors, you'll get to visit their tables. We're going to have giveaways, we're going to have appetizers, and you're going to get to really learn about some amazing people that are part of making McKinney unique. and really sharing their gifts and talents and stories with those who attend. And so that's part of it. And we're also going to talk a little bit about maybe why someone would want to write a book. And that's going to be it won't be a lengthy portion, but it will, if you have any interest at all, we want to encourage you to come learn about these authors, learn about how you may become an author. So tell them how they can get information about the event.
So the best way is to go to the Facebook event page, which is Local Authors Showcase. But they can also reach out to me at my email address, which is info@lisahammett.com. And if they have specific questions, happy to chat with them about that. I know I already have one author who is kind of on a wait list. And we're not anticipating anybody dropping out, but you never know what could happen.
You never know.
So we do have one person already who's on a wait list and is excited about it. So, yeah.
So Sheila, are they going to have to pay to attend the event?
No, it's free. I mean, I think this is just the best. It's going to be a beautiful spring day. You come in and you get to be just transported to another world, learning about all of these wonderful stories, meeting all these new people, and seeing, again, some of the best of what McKinney has to offer, in that they are artists in a way. It's just a different way.
That's right.
The written word. And I just think it's a wonderful experience for families or for anyone, and to get to learn from a professional how or what you might want to consider before you write a book, or why you might want to write a book, or whatever. I think that's even better. I think it's just a fabulous event.
I'm a firm believer that every person likely has a book inside of them. And I think a large percentage of people have had the thought, I need to write a book, whether it's a family experience or a career experience or whatever the case is. It's just oftentimes it feels daunting.
Yes.
And so this is a great way to come and celebrate people who have gone through that process, and also to be empowered as well. And I love that you said it is creative. It is in the arts space. It's just creativity with the written word,
right,
versus creativity with paints,
artistic
or
medium,
music, or some other medium, or photography.
True.
I kind of know a guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Well, photography.
Yes.
We're all creatives.
Yeah, we
right.
are all creative.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, so what is the format of this day? When people show up, what time does it start?
12:30.
12:30. And so when it begins, what can people expect when they walk through that door?
They'll have an opportunity to mingle with the authors, and we want them to. We're going to give them a little, almost like a bingo sheet, or a sheet that they cross off everything. And when they visit every single table, and there's going to be 15, then they get entered into a drawing for books.
Yes,
We're all going to
imagine
raffle off
that.
books. I know, how fun.
That's right.
And then we did mention Neighbor Books, which is a neighbor bookstore on Louisiana in downtown McKinney. They are going to be represented, and I'm so excited because they do lots
awesome.
of really cool things in the community within their location. So they're going to be talking about some of those fun things as well. So people will come in, they'll mingle, and then we're working on the actual schedule of when which author will be speaking. So we're going to have that posted here probably in the upcoming weeks.
Okay.
So people, if they're looking for a particular author or going for a particular author, they'll know when they're going to speak.
Yeah, because each author is going to be sharing about a 4-minute segment from their book. So it's going to be a great opportunity for those in attendance to hear really more of the story behind the book. So it's going to be an awesome event.
So will there, if someone shows up and they want to have a little bit more Q&A with any of these authors, it's when they're at their tables that they can just go up there and ask questions, get an autograph, grab a selfie, and all those other things.
Yeah, because I'm assuming most all of the authors will be selling selling books.
Yes.
You like that resounding yes.
Yes, everybody that I know of.
Yes.
Should we mention who they are?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go for the name. Sure.
Okay, hold on. All right, I want to make sure I don't forget anybody. So obviously it's Sheila, Lisa, and Elizabeth, Linda Bonner, Rolanda Macaria, Ashley Shuford, Gay Ann Kaiser, David Rose, Sherry Bell, Leah Hunt, and I mentioned Neighbor Books, Rich Cavanis, Roxanne Gail Hodge, Jason Hernandez, Christine Strobush, and Sonal Treddy. I am so sorry if I butchered your last name, Sonal. But those are our esteemed authors.
Awesome.
And
those are the confirmed
yes.
and holding position for the one person who's on the waiting list.
They're,
I love it.
yes. They're amazing.
That's
all
great.
Well, and our hope is that this will be the first of an annual celebration of authors in the McKinney area.
Yeah, and I do agree with you that I believe everybody has at least one book inside them. Of course, I look at me, I got a small library going right here, personally. But, so Sheila, at what point did you first get an inkling, I need to write a book, or I want to, was it I need to write a book about this, or I want to write a book about this?
I think it was a nudge. I think it was, you can call it a God wink, you can call it whatever you'd like. But because I kept waking up with this idea that other people need to hear this. Mm-hmm. Other families need to hear this. And I think that's what it was. Did I know anything about this? No, but see, one of Sheila's favorite lines is, "How hard can it be?" Well, my husband hates to hear this because that then there's a whole other problem that comes out of that. But in this case, I had wonderful friends that had done this, and so I didn't do this alone. I mean, I reached out to them, and which is wonderful. But I think that's for me. That's what it was, a nudge.
Yeah, it's because Elizabeth will share with you that. Our boys had pretty much a normal upbringing with above average parents.
Yes. Agreed.
But there were many times that, when hard topics and discipline or instruction or correction had to be handled, that, teenage boys, there were times where it's all said and done, the dust is settled, and it's just Elizabeth and I would look at her and I would say, I feel like I'm the one taking crazy pills. And just the chaos, the insanity, and I would just get in my car, put the top down, and just drive. There were times where she was like, "You know what? You just go for a drive." I was like, "I'm just going to go for a drive because I needed something," and so I probably should have written a book about that.
You still can.
Yeah,
I probably still can. Hey, I think between the three of us, especially your lovely wife, I think she can guide.
Actually,
you.
I have a pick your path. I want 21 days to set your parenting on the right course.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
She's already got me lined up. But yeah, so and so also, I want to ask each of you. So Lisa, for you, did you in the midst of the corporate burn and grind, when did the From Burnout to Best Life actually take seed for you?
Well, this is kind of funny. So during the pandemic, when we were in lockdown, I was doing a lot of networking with just professionals on LinkedIn. And we would do these virtual, one-to-ones. And I just had started blogging during the pandemic. So I was starting to get some traction. And I was connecting with a lot of people in the publishing space, not intentionally, but they just wanted to connect. Every person that I talked to in that space would say, you have great content. Have you ever thought about writing a book? And, the first time you hear it, you're like, oh, thanks, you're so nice.
You're just being
You're so kind. Thank you. And I mean, I always loved to write, but I had never had this huge burning desire or felt like I have to write a book. I kept hearing it more and more. And I believe it was divine intervention because I had no idea how to write a book. I had no idea. I was so naive. I thought, okay, you need some kind of cover art.
How hard can it be?
Yeah, exactly. You need some cover art and you need an editor. And that's about it. And boy, was I mistaken. So, yeah, I had heard it enough. And then I started hearing from friends and family. It's like, you've got to write a book. You write well. So I'm like, okay. Had no clue what I was doing. I just put it out there, prayed about it, just said, okay, God, lead me. And he did. And I had no idea how I was going to get the money to even do it either because it's quite an investment. And he provided. I got business in other areas and I was able to to pay as I went. And so if you're thinking you're an author and you're like, oh gosh, I can't afford to do that. Oh yeah, there's ways that you can.
There are ways.
There are ways. There are ways. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All right, Elizabeth, how about you?
So my first book came out of when we moved from Tampa to McKinney, and we said, how hard can it be to restart two commission-based businesses where you have no friends, no family to help you do it? Yeah, it was way harder than we thought. Way harder than we thought. And
pick your path on your business. You got to developing a business entrepreneur. You need to pick your path on that.
So the first book really came out of that, because what I learned when we moved here, because it was so much harder than what we ever expected, is that things that I had learned, and I was already teaching back in Florida. Now I'm like, it's where, you know, that proverbial, the rubber meets the road.
Right.
And you're like, whoo, this is tough. But in the working through the toughness of the move and the restart led me to being able to verbalize some key brain transformational principles. And people were saying, you really should write a book. You really should write a book. And but you're kind of lost in the quagmire of what does that look like, and how do you do it, and how do you approach it, and how do you organize it, and all of the things. And so eventually I finally just got fed up with, kicking the tires of how to make it happen, and invested to learn how to make it happen. And so that's how the first book came about, where that's concerned. So.
And maybe there's some guy who's always saying, you should probably write a book.
Yeah, that would be you.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let me look what my hand says. Say that Fred was your biggest support. Okay, sorry.
Biggest pain in the butt. Constantly. Okay, so this is popcorn. You can just jump in. In finally making that decision of, you know what, I'm going to write a book. What would you say was your greatest reservation, or what would you say was probably the one thing that you had to overcome to actually get in?
Well, the easiest part for me was writing the story, because it was our story. Mm-hmm. See, that's the thing. These two would be a little harder. Well, definitely would be harder. And I have, you don't know this, but I'm going to write my second book this year, is going to be entitled Mistletoe, Murder, and Mayhem, and it is a murder mystery.
Yes.
And you were the first to hear it here on the McKinney Podcast.
But so that will be different. Okay, I'm working on that now. But to write my family story, well, clearly I lived it. So that was the easy part. Now, the rest of it was more, you've got to educate yourself on, and I made some mistakes, which we always do when you try something the first time. You make mistakes that I now know I should have done this rather than this. Mm-hmm. Okay, but it got done, and I'm very proud of it. So, and I know one person that has a bad situation, and she tells me that she reads it every week. Because my book you can read in a little over an hour, and she reads it because it helps her with okay. That keeps me going.
Man, yeah. So the DNA of your book, not only how hard can it be to write a book, it's also how hard can it be to go back and read it again, right?
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. All right. So Lisa, how about for you? What was the one obstacle that you feel kept you from writing the book that you eventually got over that?
Myself, getting out of my own way and praying about it, and just kind of in your situation where you just keep putting it off, and you kept hearing more. And I'm like, I can't do that. All that negative self-talk. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And once I declared it, people started appearing in my life that I needed to meet. And then I do not have a problem asking questions and approaching people. If I need help with something, I will ask people. And I did a lot of research, and I vetted a lot of different types of publishers, and it just flowed after that. I mean, yes, it's a process, I'll tell you, especially when you're editing things, which seem like for the 500th time.
Yeah. Yes.
But, the finished product, I think we could all attest, we're really proud of it. And all of that editing and all the blood, sweat, and tears, if you want to call it, it really
It's worth it.
It manifests into this beautiful thing that you created. So,
All right. And Elizabeth?
Sorry, I'm just thinking, I'm listening and thinking about the journey. The biggest thing I had to get over was myself, but for different reasons, because I was trying to do it myself without having enough knowledge. And when I finally got to that point of, I can't, then I was willing to invest in someone who had already proven the process and gave me guide rails to run on. And it is one of the reasons why I'm passionate about those who will attend and at least hear a little bit about why it would be important to write the book and really learn how they can avail themselves of that knowledge for how to do it. But I had to get over myself. I had to quit thinking I could do it on my own, and I had to. And this is, I think, one of the hardest things for most first-time authors is that there is an investment necessary to be able to do it well.
Yes,
but once you get to that point where your story, like for example, like with you and both of you, really, your story is so important that it is worth making the investment to take it to publication. It is worth the investment to take it to publication. And that, I think, is an important.
Well, one more thing with me, though, see, it really makes it very public. And so for people that did not know about our story, then I had people call me crying. And they're like, I would never have known this.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get over that. You got to get over that. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, but you don't walk in and shake hands with somebody and say, hi, I'm Sheila Williamson and my son is a drug addict and he's in jail. I mean, that is not really a good conversation starter.
That's really,
And
agreed.
this was like when COVID and everything was going down also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I knew about it because of being in
we all
links.
knew.
And,
You all knew. But but people that hadn't seen me in years or whatever, and they didn't know, and my graduating class, people that didn't, they were like shocked.
But I think we could probably do a whole nother episode on overcoming fears that keep people from publication, because I do believe that's a big one, that people are, what will people think if they read what I've written? And so I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. And
about,
so
I was going to say just real quick, it's about being vulnerable.
Yes.
And I was worried about that too. I mean, there were a couple chapters in my book where I'm like, I don't know if I want to share that. But then, people come up to you.
Yes,
and
they
they're
do.
like, wow, I had no idea. And I'm so glad you shared that, because that really spoke to me. And, when you show up as your true, authentic self, you're going to attract the right people.
That's correct.
And that's the whole point.
And Fred said, you can't change the past.
no.
Nope.
You can learn from it.
Amen.
That's right.
But if you don't, then you're doomed to repeat it. And so let's at
least help other people from from having to go through or being stuck, in similar places.
That's right.
So-
And I just want to put out there, I'm a fan of all of you, but that, at no time should anyone ever feel that this is a comparison race,
That's right.
because
No.
people have written books about these topics that you've already done there,
yes.
but they haven't lived your lives. And there is someone else who's going to be able to relate to you.
They'll relate.
And how you got there. So, we are at the top of the hour, and we need to land this thing. One quick question. Nope. No. Sorry. Which one is it? Okay, forget it. Normally we have the contest between the shark and the polar bear, but since I know I can't find that audio bank, we're going to have to pass on that one. But once again, just give us, when is it? Where is it?
Go ahead, Lisa.
It's April 5th from 12:30 to 4:30 at Gather in downtown McKinney, and it is a free event, family friendly.
Local authors showcase. 15 authors, all with tables, books for sale. You'll hear from the authors. hear a little bit about why it's important to write a book, and have an amazing time.
So this is not ticketed. It's not RSVP.
No.
Nope.
No.
But they
Come
can
to
go to
Edgewater.
Facebook, look for Local Authors Showcase, and
Right.
see all the details.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you again for tuning in to this episode of the McKinney Podcast, where we do celebrate what makes us unique by nature. And as James presses his face against the glass there, we just want to tell you, make sure that you tune in, subscribe. All the links and information will be in the show notes, and we will catch you for the next one.